Now the jump onto Kadaro, he's gone. Buyback immediately, Chrono down. Moonlight Shadow, but Dendi off to the side, doing the damage. Will it be enough? It doesn't quite look like it, hitting onto everybody else. Has to back away. Blink back, run out, V-Tune. He has another Chrono ready. Silence BKB, the bash, it connects.
Oh, big stun,
he jumps away,
big cast.
back. The Chrono, Dendi, he hits them all. Where's the damage? They have it. They got him. Oh my God.
Hello, it's Torte Lini. When it comes to succeeding with Witch Doctor, learning your place in the lane during mid-game ganks and your late-game timing will be key to maximizing Witch Doctor's abilities without having to pay with your own life. A lot of Witch Doctor players lose out in a match due to their hasteness to deal damage as soon as possible, rather than focusing on guaranteeing the most damage he has available. Witch Doctor is one of the most enjoyed support heroes to play because he has a variety of great abilities, from an annoying stun that can easily farm creeps, a finishing magic burst ability that predicates on the enemy taking damage, to an ultimate ability that's pure damage that can slay most enemies in a 1 versus 1 fight, so long as Witch Doctor isn't interrupted when channeling that ultimate. Like most supports, Witch Doctor needs very few items to succeed, but his abilities can be differently impactful across different stages of the game. Witch Doctor also pairs very well with most lineups and fights. Think about picking Witch Doctor with allies that have good burst damage, like Mars in the lane or Juggernaut or Ursa. He also really enjoys teammates that can keep foes in place while he channels his Death Ward ultimate ability, so an Underlord with Pit of Malice or Faceless Void with Chronosphere are ideal later in the game. Witch Doctor doesn't have the greatest positioning, so enemies that can reach him easily like, Scepter or Nature's Prophet are scary to play against. And late in the game, where the emphasis for your ultimate ability, Death Ward, is essential, playing against heroes that can interrupt it like Silencer's Global Silence or Zeus's Scepter ability Nimbus limits Witch Doctor's potential damage output. Typically, Witch Doctor likes to play against enemies that can jump into a fight, but not so easily get out. So heroes like Axe or Huskar are easy targets for Witch Doctor, as all the hero will do is wait for them to engage, before Witch Doctor then appears just out of reach of his targets and cast Death Ward from a safe distance for incredible damage. Laning stage. Now before the laning stage, you should buy items like Iron Branches or Magic Stick if you're feeling it's a spell heavy lane, and 2 sets of tangos instead of your usual 1, a circlet and a blood grenade. These are items you should buy because of how you'll be aiming to trade a lot of physical hits versus your opponent to capitalize on that damage for when using Maledict. Now basically Maledict deals magic burst damage depending on how much your opponent has taken in damage during the ability's duration. So while you'll be taking a lot of damage from your enemy, your opponent will certainly take more in trade thanks to Maledict and your physical attack. So the extra tangos are so you can regularly go back to deal more damage to the enemy after regeneration, of course, and the circlet beefs you up a bit in stats and is generally a good item for that early game offensiveness. Lastly, pick up a blood grenade for a bit of extra health, and it's a nice follow-up slow when you want to jump on a weakened opponent that your core can potentially kill. Just remember to use Maledict first on an enemy if possible, before blood grenade and paralyzing cask for maximum damage as you beat the enemy down. It's no big deal though if you need to stun or blood grenade first, just so long as you guarantee the kill with that level of commitment in spells and items. Now, laning with Witch Doctor is a routine. Your focus is to create an advantage for your position 1 carry, either by enabling them in comfort and last hitting creeps for golden experience, or by taking pressure off your safe lane core by regularly diverting enemy focus onto you. And these are tactics that you can use like 1, denying your own creep so the enemy doesn't get XP or gold, 2, blocking with a sentry ward or disrupting their hard camp pulls so the lane stays near or around your tower, 3, harassing or even killing the enemy offlane support with Maledict, physical attacks and paralyzing cask to then harass the core offlaner out of the lane, 4, dewarding, stacking and pulling your own jungle camps so the creep waves engage with each other close to your tower, 5, you can grab the Lotus every 3 minutes to deny the enemies from having additional regeneration to harass your cores with spells and extra health. And then 6, guaranteeing experience for your core by using Paralyzing Cask on an enemy creep so it stuns the nearby enemy offlaner, trying to deny their creep and ensuring your team at least gets some XP from it. There's a lot to do during the laning stage for support. More importantly, if your goals are not towards enabling the position 1 carry, you actually may be sabotaging your own team because you are taking away opportunity for the position 1 carry and farm, kill opportunity, or avoiding death. The laning stage has consequences for the rest of the game, and it is also the moment where you are most capable of influencing the game. So definitely be aware of your goal and what you can do to guarantee it for your carry. Now, your first purchase in the laning stage is Boots of Speed. Pretty simple. Buying boots earlier not only allows you better positioning to initiate with your abilities, but also allows you to close the gap on enemies so you can hit them and pull back before they can even hit you back. And if they pull back, then Boots of Speed allows you to stay on them until they decide to retaliate. So simply put, when they push you in, you pull back, and until they can no longer reach you. And when they can no longer reach you and they start pulling back, you can push in to get a few more hits. Witch Doctor has decent attack damage and range compared to most other heroes, so these small feats of footwork have a compounding effect in the first 5 minutes of the game. Getting Boots of Speed early means you can respond and react to the lane earlier and better. Now, as you start securing the lane for your core and it feels like there are at an advantage in the lane, you can start seeing maybe which other lanes need pressure. As we mentioned, Maledict pairs really well with your team dealing damage. So if it looks like your mid laner is high in levels, or their enemy is going for ruin, or is maybe even overextended in the lane, that's your cue to grab a Smoke of Deceit, rotate over while your safe lane carry freely farms on the tower, or maybe the off laner is dead and respawning. Again, it's about adding value to the early game while you have the most to offer and the least needs required to perform. Even if you don't necessarily secure kills, so long as you don't die, you are unlocking a new fear for the enemy team that at any point you may show up to steal their runes, deward their lane, or teleport to the Twin Gate to gank them. All these things are way better than you watching your core secure last hits on the tower while you soak up experience that the safe laner could be getting by themselves. Your carry doesn't need a supervisor, they need a team, so be active and know where to be active, more importantly. In terms of skill build, you're going to grab the first point in Paralyzing Cask before putting 2 points in Maledict, another Paralyzing Cask, and then we max out Maledict with a point in your ultimate Death Ward at level 6. The goal is to max out Maledict because it goes so well with the proactiveness I'm promoting in this guide. To add, it's a great finisher on enemies even when they manage to escape your attacks. And combined with Death Ward's incredible fast attack speed and damage, Maledict really saps the rest of the life of any enemy it affects. Mid game. Now your mid game is an extension of your early game workout. So long as your team wills it, you are going to keep ganking with Smoke of Deceit and utilizing your Maledict, Paralyzing Cask, and Death Ward to secure kills. Once the momentum has died down, or you find yourself needing some items to safely pull off your Death Ward, start farming lanes or jungle camps that are untouched by the allied team. Paralyzing Cask does additional damage to creeps, so it is a great farming tool when you have some downtime as your team prepares to regroup with new and necessary items. Your role during that time is to buy sentries and observer wards and strategically place them where you're going to have an impact and where you want your core heroes to farm. For example, are enemy offlaners regularly ganking your jungle? Make sure to keep that area warded so you can see those ganking enemies coming. What if the enemy team is passively farming somewhere? Then start warding more aggressively to make plays with your own team so you don't have to waste any time searching areas where the enemy is clearly not there. Your spell combination for Witch Doctor is simple. Paralyzing Cask into Maledict into Death Ward, and turn on Voodoo Restoration before a fight starts because it has a significantly good area of effect and it can help your teammates survive given its healing rate. All this said, your priority is maximizing the damage and duration of Death Ward as it deals fast, pure damage that cannot be blocked by a Black King Bar or reflected back by Blade Mail. Only an enemy's Ghost Scepter can ignore your Death Ward's attack. In terms of skills, we're going to be finishing up leveling Paralyzing Cask before maxing out Voodoo Restoration while grabbing Maledict AoE as our level 10 talent and an increase of Cask Bounces as our level 15 talent. Up until now, we didn't really talk about our ultimate ability Death Ward, so let's dive into it. Death Ward is your pièce de résistance, meaning it is the key to winning and succeeding with Witch Doctor, but it also requires you to have an awareness of when you could pull it off without being interrupted. Witch Doctor during the laning stage might be an initiating hero, but towards the mid game, when your team starts to gank around, you're nowhere near the front, as your paralyzing cast can be initiating stun, but it's not reliable, meaning that it can be slow to reach your opponent and thus gives them plenty of time to react and escape. More importantly, by being in the front, you expose yourself to damage and debuffs that can interrupt you from casting your Death Ward. So really, it's best to let initiators like Puck, Storm Spirit, gankers like Bat Rider, or even a frontliner fighter like Omni Knight or Huskar to either entrap the enemy or cause the enemy to focus on them, and once that happens, you can throw down your Maledict into Death Ward. That said, some enemies might be waiting for you to show up before trying to stun or kill you. This is where patience and positioning matters most. While it's nice to get your Maledict and Death Ward combination in, unfortunately Maledict has a very short range that requires you to put yourself at risk, and sometimes it could be better to just lay down the damage through your ultimate ability, Death Ward. Now Death Ward on the other hand has a very long range and can be cast pretty significantly far away from you, allowing you to hide in trees, above cliffs, or completely out of sight, since your Death Ward is the one attacking, not you. Your cast range for Death Ward is a bit more than your physical attack range, and the Death Ward itself has its own attack range that is equal to your cast range. So combined, you can reach opponents from as far as 1200 range away. That's more than a sniper with max take aim and Dragonlance. So don't worry too much about whether or not your Death Ward will actually reach your opponents. Focus more on making sure you are going to be able to stay alive long enough to pull off the full duration of your ultimate ability. In terms of itemization, we're looking at Arcane Boots, Glimmer Cape, and Ag Shard as your immediate go-to items. Arcane Boots is a natural item to pick up because you're regularly using spells and are reliant on a constant source of mana, especially when you finally get points in your Voodoo Restoration, which will drain your mana pool incredibly fast. Glimmer Cape is a very common item on Witch Doctor because not only does it protect you from magic burst damage and heroes, but you can also use it to safely position yourself near a fight without being seen and then lay down your Death Ward during that invisibility period, making it impossible for opponents to target you with stuns and more difficult to hit you with area of stun effects. What's the best is that you can activate Glimmer Cape even after you start channeling your Death Ward, and it will not stop the ultimate ability. However, items like Black King Bar or Ghost Scepter will stop your channeling ability, so please be aware of that distinction. Your Ag Shard ability, Voodoo Switcheroo, helps you last a bit longer in fights. It tricks opponents into targeting you only for you to be invulnerable while casting Switcheroo. Or you can avoid a projectile stun by casting Switcheroo, or at least survive a little bit longer during someone's ultimate ability. It's also a great way to lead the opponent into thinking you cast a Death Ward, but in reality it's just Switcheroo, and vice versa, like casting Death Ward and then cutting that channel time ultimate ability early by casting Switcheroo when you can see the opponents starting to head towards you. Late game. Late game for Witch Doctor is a time where you understand your obstacles and challenges to pulling off your Death Ward and the items you need to overcome that. Common pickups for Witch Doctors are things like Black King Bar to prevent any targeted stuns or silences from stopping your Death Ward channeling. Blink Dagger, so you can really stay from a safe distance and then blink in at the perfect moment or the perfect spot in the trees that is typically unreachable. Aether Lens, to make casting your Paralyzing Cask and Maledict much safer to pull off. And Aeon Disc is another item you can get if you're getting absolutely decimated. Now what's really cool about Aeon Disc is that your Death Ward can deal attack damage even when Aeon Disc pops, or you can use that Aeon Disc pop to then use Voodoo Switcheroo to delay your death just a little bit longer. Alternatively, if you're doing well and don't foresee any problems, Aghanim Scepter is balanced not just to your nearest target, but also those in the back and all around. This upgraded Death Ward puts a target on your back because it punishes everyone on the enemy team if at least one person is within your reach of your ultimate ability. Typically, without Aghanim Scepter, you need to select your Death Ward, target, and control who you want to be hitting. But with Aghanim Scepter, that really doesn't matter because as long as it hits someone, it will bounce to all the other enemies nearby. This item can be especially great to help tear down illusion-based heroes. Again, remember, you gotta be patient, look for safety, and then let the Death Ward do its job. You're gonna get swapped. Thought that was obvious. Bruh. For your talents at level 20 and 25, you are looking to bolster your Death Ward attack range and Death Ward damage, which helps you scale your output into the late game. Final tips. That should be a good baseline on how to play, build, and win, hopefully, as Witch Doctor. Always check in game for the most up-to-date item guide and my pinned comment below for any notes and corrections regarding the latest patch. But before you go, here are some final tips courtesy from howdoiplay.com. Number 1, the fewer units there are around, the more effective Cask is at stunning. In lane, try to pop an enemy with Cask after all their melee creeps have died and the only lone range creep remains as a bounce target for maximum pinballing. Number 2, you can toggle Voodoo Restoration while channeling, such as during Death Ward or even teleporting. This is extremely important when playing against a Rubik to make sure he can't easily steal your Death Ward. Paralyzing Cask pops Lincoln Sphere when targeted or bouncing into that hero, but the stun will still continue bouncing afterwards regardless. Ag Shard's Voodoo Switcheroo's Death Ward behaves identically to a normal Death Ward ultimate ability. This means it benefits from Death Ward talents and Ag Scepter Death Ward bonuses. Okay, that's it. Don't forget, if you see me heart a comment in the comment section, it's a helpful tip to play the hero even better. If you enjoyed my Dota builds in game for the past 10 plus years, or want me to make more videos, support me on Patreon, where you can even have a guide named after you. You can also subscribe on Twitch, become a member on my YouTube, or you could just say super thanks by pressing the button below this video. With your help, I'll be able to keep doing more guides and maybe properly afford editors to pump out more helpful content.